Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Sometimes the best way to find a living is to stay right where you are and study with UAS online. Career-specific distance programs from the University of Alaska Southeast are the fastest way to increase your earning power.
We connect all over the world.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Thursday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. Up first here again, the station times there, APB ARCS this show being shown at 5:30, and KUAC 9.4. Fairbanks area 6:30 is the showing, and 360 North as always running at 7:30, and then 5 a.m. the following morning on Alaska Public Media. Well, there's no watches, warnings, or advisories out tonight, with the exception of some gale warnings still out for the inside waters of the southeast coast tonight due to a front moving through. Yesterday showing band off the coast here, kind of wrapping back in, brought the rain over southern Alaska. Another batch of moisture coming across Kodiak Island with some breaks following in behind. Look like some breaks up there to the northeast and the main low center. Out over the central Aleutians, right about in this area right here around Adak. So north of that you've got east to west flow, and today that's pulled off to the east a little bit here. Right there, the low circulation, so this flow instead of east to west now becoming more north to south, especially at the lower levels. Pretty gusty north winds there through the Bering Strait. Some breaks, showers over the Bristol Bay area. Lowering temperatures today push up toward the mid-60s there. A few breaks up here on the northwest coast. Also on the lee side of the Alaska Range right through there, and also some breaks over the Kenai Peninsula. I saw a little bit of sunshine this afternoon. On up into Cook Inlet. And that front here pushing into the southeast coast, another development here bringing the gusty winds and rain in across the area, the heavy rain into the area. 24-hour rainfall amounts today ranged well as much as 3 3/4 inches falling at Sitka, and Juneau picked up about 1 1/4 inches, with many areas having anywhere from 1 to 1.5 inches, some areas a little less, like Yakutat, just about 2/10 of an inch, and then a little bit more precipitation, but nothing as heavy as the Panhandle had there along the North Gulf Coast today. Cordova had about 2/3 of an inch, and then Portage Glacier 1.5 inches. Gale warnings this morning dropped off this afternoon, pretty light now along the North Gulf Coast on those winds, but pretty brisk here over the southeast coast throughout the day today. Juneau seeing east-southeasterlies gusting to at least 40 miles per hour, and that 25 to 45 mile per hour wind gust condition all through the inside water as well as along the coast there. And again, gale warnings out this evening till this front finally pushes on through. But again, some showers here over northeast Bristol Bay. Moisture spreading northward and back to the west here and across Norton Sound. And through this part of the state right through anywhere from 1/10 to 3 or maybe 4/10 of an inch of precipitation having fallen. Just some sprinkles or isolated showers getting into the Tanana Valley, and clouds here all the way up to the Arctic coast. Pretty light winds up there, but not much in the way of any fog or low cloud conditions there, just variable cloudiness. And you can see a few breaks, pretty isolated showers here over the eastern Aleutians, and some showers very close to the St. Paul area. And this line of showers is forecast to move through here early this evening. And for tonight, we'll see those winds, which are today gusting 20 to 40 miles per hour here through the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island, down to the Pribilofs, continue tonight, come southward across the central and eastern Aleutian areas with low pressure there tracking to just near Sand Point. So light winds along the Alaska Peninsula and in Bristol Bay. And really not too breezy here, just south to north flow around that low center off to the southwest here. So bands of showers coming northward onto the North Gulf Coast. So periods of rain and fog continue tonight here, and this front pushing eastward. Winds diminish, become a little more southwesterly or southerly, but definitely come down for the Panhandle, as well as the rainfall diminishing as well, but still trailing across the southern southeast coast till early tomorrow morning on into Dixon Entrance. Weak low here near the border, so some cloudy skies and showers there, Copper River Basin, up into the interior to a certain extent, but still dry for the Brooks Range. And the North Slope all the way out to the Arctic coast. System up here, kind of a weak warm front, dropping southeastward, and we'll see that brings a chance of some mixed precipitation on the light side, along with some fog there to the western Arctic coast, mainly tomorrow afternoon. Could see a few breaks in advance of that, maybe a little bit of sunshine over the Kobuk Valley areas back in towards Kotzebue Sound, Seward Peninsula. Low pressure here right over the Kuskokwim Delta, so periods of rain from that center, numerous showers on down toward Iliamna Lake, and then along the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula. Northeast Bristol Bay looks pretty showery. Chance of showers for Kodiak Island. And another trough here, another surge of moisture comes up to the North Gulf Coast. The periods of rain and fog again tomorrow, not particularly heavy, just kind of a steady, lighter rainfall pattern. And after a break, the front moves through, you get a breakthrough here, and then the next batch of moisture pushing eastward. So a chance of rain all the way down to Port Alexander tomorrow afternoon, on back to the north, maybe up to Elephant Cove and back toward Yakutat. Looks pretty wet for tomorrow afternoon. And over the interior, partly cloudy in areas, mostly cloudy in others, and some isolated showers around the Alaska Range, maybe up around the Brooks Range there. Of course, that'll fall in the form of snow with any elevation at all. And now back out here to the west with this low tracking right up towards Sitkinak. Some good northwest winds coming around that. Small craft advisories from St. Lawrence Island right down across Nunivak Island there, and now in across the Alaska Peninsula northwest, 25 to 30 knots there. And that'll extend out toward the eastern Aleutians, but begin to lighten up the farther west you go until they get quite light out here over the western areas. Next system bringing a chance of rain out towards Shimi and Attu tomorrow afternoon, but kind of showery from the Pribilofs here, and less of that on down to the south. And taking a look at the first day of the weekend, shaping up like this. Showers, scattered showers, basically cloudy skies. Could be a few breaks there for the southeast coast, but yet another trough ready to pivot in there late Saturday evening, overnight, with showers back along the North Gulf Coast. Mostly cloudy showers, all of south central Alaska, Prince William Sound, Kenai Peninsula areas. Not too wet, just more showery instead of occasional rain. And then scattered showers up across the eastern Tanana Valley, maybe the Copper River Basin, more likely along the Alaska Range. Pretty fair here. Another cold front actually develops and now drops southward, so that should bring cold enough conditions in for that to precipitation to fall as snow there for the central Arctic coast. Aliktok back to Barrow over toward Wainwright, and then it gets to become some kind of a mixed condition here back to the southwest across the Noatak Valley on into Kotzebue Sound there, and that should drop down with some light amounts of moisture reaching the north side of the Seward Peninsula. Dry on the south side there. Still got the small craft advisories going here for those northwest winds along the southwest coast here in Nunivak Island, right in across the Alaska Peninsula. Gusty west winds there for Bristol Bay with rain, fog, and drizzle. Anywhere from Bethel, where it'll be a little more showery, but Togiak, Dillingham, on into King Salmon. Look for some rain as that feature passes in along the lee side, or the windward side of the peninsula here. Drier conditions on the south side, like Kodiak Island, could see some clearing, as well as Chignik, Sand Point, and even on Alaska, may look for a dry day with maybe some partly sunny skies there, but the next batch of moisture, rain out over the western Aleutians, really lifting north of the Aleutians here, but the trailing edge of that warm front could brush by Atka and Adak with a little bit of light rain or fog, but nothing heavy at all. And temperatures across the southeast coast all in the 50s this afternoon, lower to upper with 52 at Skagway and 58 both at Sitka and at Port Alexander, mid to upper 50s over the southern panhandle, lower to mid 50s here for the North Gulf Coast. Valdez, though, just at 48. Lower 50s, Copper River Basin, at Gunsight at 48. 61, though, at Tok on the other side of the mountains. And mid 50s to near 60 up in the central Tanana Valley, although Eagle pushed up to 63 degrees today. In south central Alaska, mostly in the 50s, 57 at Talkeetna. Homer, 60 degrees, upper 50s there for Kodiak Island. And cooler, farther north you go, upper Yukon Valley, mid 30s there, although Bettle's up to 40. Then Anatuvik, just 19 degrees here, mid-afternoon. 20s for the North Slope, lower 30s here for the Arctic coast, but Nuiqsut and Deadhorse both at 27, 32 for Wainwright and Point Lay. Mid-30s here over the northwest with Nome up to 42 and 37 at Wales with 39 degrees at Savunga, 47 McGrath. Mid to upper 50s here on down across the deltas, 40s along the coast, and then from Kipnik on down in the 50s. That includes the Alaska Peninsula, mid to upper 50s, lower 50s Central Aleutians, just 48 out at Shimia. Lows for tonight, looking upper 20s to lower 30s here, teens around the Brooks Range area. Again, Anatuvik, of course, staying one of the colder locations with mid to upper 20s here just south of the mountains and into the 30s, warming into the 40s to near 50 along the southwest coast, Alaska Peninsula, and on Alaska, upper 40s to lower 50s for the Panhandle. And for highs tomorrow, basically a day like today there for the southeast coast, mid to upper 50s to near 60 there. Lower 60s again for northeast Bristol Bay, 55 to 60-ish here for south central Alaska, on up into the Kuskokwim Valley as well as the Tanana Valley, about 55 to 60 for the highs. And then again, north of the Brooks Range, all in the 30s, which would make it a little bit warmer than today, and 40s to lower 50s out west. Flying weather tomorrow morning, IFR, Prince William Sound, North Gulf Coast, Cape Yakataga, back to through Passes Canal, and then down the east side of the Kenai Peninsula. Areas of marginal VFR up into the interior with the only swath of VFR here from the northwest coast back across the Brooks Range. Lots of IFR here out over the Bering Sea. And for tomorrow afternoon, interior clears out and goes VFR down to the North Gulf Coast. Persistent IFR there with those surges of moisture coming northward off the Gulf and that southerly flow. So IFR over to now almost Yakutat. Marginal VFR as that next batch of moisture pushes in toward the coast there, the north coast during the afternoon hours, otherwise VFR. Alaska Peninsula in the VFR, otherwise everywhere else looks pretty marginal. And for Anatuvik, not too bad tomorrow, VFR, same thing for Adigan, pretty good VFR, and Lake Clark and Merrill, occasionally marginal. And for Rainy, marginal VFR, especially on all three of those on the eastern approaches. Windy VFR, Isabel, marginal becoming VFR. And for Mentasta, VFR, Tanita, going marginal possibly tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, just kind of a back and forth sort of situation there with Portage at IFR, a little more certainty in that forecast. And for Chilkoot and White, marginal trending toward VFR. In other words, just a gradual improvement in the conditions throughout the day. And for freezing levels here at the surface and the cold air back up over the Arctic coast and the North Slope, right down to about the Brooks Range, a little bit of a gradient there across the mountains where it jumps to 6,000 feet over the eastern interior, then all the way up to 10,000 feet over the southern southeast coast. Otherwise, 4,000 to 6,000 feet central and southern Alaska, dropping back to about 4,000 here. Nunivak Island, the Pribilofs, on down toward the central Aleutians. Icing a little bit possible there with that moisture coming down on the western coast tomorrow. Otherwise, occasional widespread moderate possible here in the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, with light to isolated moderate rime or mixed icing here. Possible in the shaded areas from the Yukon Delta eastward, again pushing in toward the north coast here. This batch pushing out. And looking at the jet stream, kind of a weak trough here. coming down again associated with that trough coming onto the northwest coast there, and upper level low just east of Kodiak Island, south to southeast flow, strongest flow now in across the southern panhandle there as that front moves eastward. Another weak trough back out through here. 9,000-foot winds show the northerlies 30 knots there, becoming north-northwest, 25 to 30 knots down along the southwest coast into the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula. Back around from the southeast, but only 10 to 15 across the Gulf of Alaska, maybe up to 20 here along the central coast. Southwesterlies 20 knots across the eastern Alaska range on up toward the 40-mile country, and 3,000 feet west-southwest 35 knots there on the central Arctic coast. Otherwise pretty light and variable, or south-southeast. Southeast here at 5 to 15, becoming southwest at 5, so quite light through the interior. 25 to 30 knots here along the coast, eastern Bering Sea, across the Alaska Peninsula, and then southeasterlies possibly up to 25 knots here along the North Gulf Coast, 10 to 20 for the Panhandle, 15 over the eastern interior areas, and then those northwesterlies lighten up as you head west under high pressure and then swing around to the southwest at about 20 towards Shemya. Turbulence-wise, light to isolated moderate chop here, Seward Peninsula, Bering Strait, southward catching course St. Lawrence Island, definitely Nunivak Island, and then some moderate mechanical turbulence there along and on the lee side of the Alaska Range on the Alaska Peninsula, and then some of that extending out to the eastern Aleutians. Otherwise, pretty smooth everywhere else, like the Panhandle, the mainland, western Aleutian areas. And after the break of Stargazer, I'll be back with a look at the ice edge in the marine forecasts.
The Scorpion and his Teapot.
Welcome to Stargazers. I'm Dean Regas, astronomer from the Cincinnati Observatory.
And I'm James Albury, director of the Kika Silva Pla Planetarium in Gainesville, Florida. Two of our favorite constellations, Scorpius and Orion, are perfectly positioned this week to play out a celestial drama in the night sky. Plus, there's a teapot and a very tardy rabbit to throw into the mix.
Also, for you planet lovers out there, we have Mars and Saturn hanging out near Scorpius and Sagittarius. And the planet Venus plays a game of celestial tag with the bright star Spica.
What are we talking about? Let's show you.
Okay, we've got our skies set up for just after sunset anytime this week facing southwest. Just to the left of the J-shaped star pattern marking Scorpius, a Scorpion, you'll see the red planet Mars and the ring planet Saturn. As the week progresses, you'll see these planets slowly moving toward the stars of the constellation Sagittarius, the Centaur Archer.
At the same time, Venus is visible near the western horizon this week near the blue giant star Spica. Spica is approximately 262 light years away from us and is over 7 times wider than our Sun. Venus appears brighter than Spica, even though Venus is much smaller than Spica. It's a lot closer to us, and since it's covered by clouds, it reflects a lot of sunlight, hence the improved brightness. Earlier, I was mentioning a celestial drama between two constellations. Well, the first player is Scorpius the Scorpion. As legend has it, Scorpius was sent by Gaia, the goddess of the earth, to punish Orion the hunter for boasting about what a great hunter he was. So while Orion was out hunting, the Scorpion came along and stung him on the ankle. The gods then placed Orion on the opposite side of the sky so that the Scorpion wouldn't try to sting him again.
Orion's friend Sagittarius was a centaur, but he was also a very good archer. So he went to go find the Scorpion to kill it in revenge for stinging his friend Orion. It can be tough to find all the stars in Sagittarius. However, there are 8 stars that really stand out. They form a shape we like to call the teapot.
Of these 8 stars, you can use these 3 to mark the spout, these 3 to mark the lid, these 4 to outline the handle, and these 4 represent the body. As Alice in Wonderland discovered, a tea party is always a lot more fun when you invite friends to join you. So let's modify our story a little bit and say that Scorpius, feeling remorseful for having stung Orion, invites him to have tea. Not wanting to be alone with the Scorpion, Orion invites Lepus the hare to join him.
According to legend, Lepus was the rabbit Orion was hunting when the Scorpion stung him. Lepus the Hare is a constellation just to the south of Orion. But like our rabbit in Alice in Wonderland, our rabbit is running late for the party. If you watch the sky throughout the night, you'll see the stars slowly rising in the east and setting in the west.
During the course of the night, Scorpius and his teapot are slowly moving across the sky. The problem with this is that because the gods put Orion on the opposite side of the sky from the Scorpion, Orion can never catch up to the Scorpion.
Tired of waiting for Orion, the Scorpion dips below the horizon around midnight, taking the teapot with it. Shortly after 1:30 in the morning, the handle of the teapot disappears below the western horizon. At the same time, Orion finally appears in the east.
So it isn't until almost 3 in the morning that both Orion and his lagomorph companion are completely above the horizon. Much to their dismay, the party is over and the Scorpion and his teapot are long gone for the night.
So remember, if you're a Scorpion and want to have a tea party, make sure your guests are nearby.
And if you're invited to a tea party hosted by a Scorpion, set your alarm clock. It's easy to do if you
Keep looking up.
Welcome back. It's the ice analysis showing some ice again in close to the coast here from Point Franklin on up to west of Barrow there, and then kind of extending a little bit off to the northeast there. So about the same as it's been for, gosh, quite some time now, and not much in the way of any big changes coming up over the next several days. And on to the forecast here again, the gale's out this evening here for the inside waters, and then for tomorrow coming down quite a bit south to southeast, just 15 to 20 knots now, seas running 3 to 4 feet. South 15 to mainly 20 knots here on the south and central coast, southeast 20, 9-foot seas up to the north. And the outlook for Saturday, even lighter winds here, south to southwest at about 15, maybe 20 knots here in that stretch of the coastline, then back down to 15. Winds coming down a little bit from Friday's values there for northern Link Canal at about 15. And we've got southeasterlies picking up to 20 knots with 4-foot seas there for Clarence Strait. And for Prince William Sound, southeast 20 knots tomorrow, 4-foot seas. Small craft advisories again here, at least for a time tomorrow, there for the North Gulf Coast. Otherwise 15 knots here back down across the Barrens. South 20, Kodiak Island, Shelikof Strait, variable at 10. Light northeasterlies for Cook Inlet with 3-foot seas. Out toward, or for Saturday, light variable winds, northern Cook Inlet, Prince William Sound, and the North Gulf Coast, all 10 knots or less with seas coming down to 7 feet here for the coast. Northwest 20 there for the Barren Islands, becoming westerly here into Kamishak Bay. Then we've got small craft advisory westerlies blowing across Kodiak Island, and south at about 15 there for southern Cook Inlet. Bristol Bay southwest on the light side tomorrow, but northwest increasing to 25 to 30 knots there across the peninsula, 10 to 12-foot seas. And Castle Cape to Sitkinak, still 15 knots with those seas, keeping the small craft advisories in even that zone. And then for Saturday, those westerlies kick in there, 25 knots there towards Sitkinak and southwest. Also for Bristol Bay, west-northwest, 30 knots, higher gusts here out of the channeled areas for the peninsula with 10-foot seas. And for the Fox Islands, northwest 25, that's good for some small craft advisories there. Actually, small craft advisories are out everywhere except right through here due to the seas, southwest 20 back to the west. And then on Saturday, bring some gales in with that next system, that next front there, 35 knots, coming down to small craft southwesterlies for Adak and Atka, turning west and then northwest, 25 to 30 knots, or west-northwest, 25 to 30, 8 to 10-foot seas there. Strongest winds across Unalaska Island. And for the southwest coast, tomorrow, south of Nunivak Island, northwest 25, north 30 on the north side. St. Lawrence Island, north 25, northwest here 20 for St. Matthew Island. Small craft advisories with 11-foot seas there for the Pribilofs. And for Saturday, northwest 25 and northwest 25 to 30 here, southwest coast continues. And then coming down to westerly at 20 for St. Lawrence Island, on down into the northern Bering Sea with subsiding seas. And for the eastern Arctic coast there, extreme east side, kind of a southeast light wind condition, then southwest 20, picking up to 30 there for the central coast. And we've got small craft advisories all the way down to Cape Beaufort, and then because it's more west-northwest at about 15. And for Saturday, those stay the same direction, come up to about 20 knots here, west 20 knots, western central coast. Small craft advisories right through here, and then coming back down to 20 knots over toward Demarcation Point. And looking at tonight's weather again, front pushes eastward but drags through the southern panhandle. But anyway, wind and rain diminishing, changing over to showers. Still kind of wet along the North Gulf Coast, but that's a light rain. Scattered showers over the interior here down to Kodiak Island with this low very close to Chignik there. Northwest winds pretty gusty southward from the Bering Strait across the eastern Aleutians, and that'll pick up over the Alaska Peninsula tomorrow, back up to the northwest or the southwest coast here. Weak system, maybe a little bit of moisture coming down from the north there, and more surges of moisture keep it wet from the North Gulf Coast. After a break, more moisture pushing into the north coast of the Panhandle, unsettled over the southwest, and not too bad Saturday, just mostly cloudy, scattered showers. Same thing for the Panhandle, Bristol Bay, maybe some snow up north. Have a great evening.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.